in a meeting a certain band backstage with Dustin, who this is the guy I've been friends with for 5 years and hadn't really had that kind of experience. I've had like drunken nights and hilarious conversations, and all of a sudden I'm backstage with Alien Ant Farm and Red, and I'm trying to think of the other band that was with us at the time, and we were just, we're hanging out on their bus, and I'm just like, this is slowly morphing into, I don't really know this guy that I'm starting to call my best friend anymore. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's doing some crazy shit that I knew he was capable, but I'm like, wow, he's really doing it, and he's doing it again. And I will remember always the conversation he had with me when he wrote essentially the business plan, but he wouldn't call it that. He wrote the mantra of what Starset's first lore was supposed to be. And it was, he just said, if this doesn't work out and I can't get my ideas to, I don't know if it was the word percolate or whatever he used, if I can't get this to take off in a way that I can get this music out, and whether that meant a record deal or just some form of success so he could do this as a career, he's like, this is it. Like, this is the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go right back to engineering. I'm going to focus on what I was doing. Like, this is it. And I think he was somewhat of a way asking if I wanted to be a part of it. And I was like, yeah, like I'm good on what I've been doing for the last 10 years. I'm kind of sick of risking my life and doing some really crazy stuff. I'd like to do a change, and music was it. So, and he also trusted me during those last 2 years prior to pick up a bass, and I'm pretty sure I sucked so bad starting off. But he trusted me with that too, and we just kept doing it. And I, like everything else in my life at that point, it was an opportunity. I took it, and I was like going to fucking make it happen. I didn't care what it took. I was just going to do it. So make it happen, kind of thing.
That's amazing. It's interesting because, it's you're dealing with kind of two separate things, Downplay being kind of one idea and one brand and one trajectory, and going into Starset. I'm interested to hear, like, how did you, like, where did the separation begin? Like, was it like, okay, I'm going to create this entire new concept, and Downplay is going to kind of go off into its own world, and this is a totally different thing? Because there is a bit of overlap there, right?
There is certainly song overlap, but I feel like that was always inevitable because of the way that he writes. I mean, he writes so many things, so many ideas, starts to songs. I mean, I think Horizons had at least 60 songs, maybe 90 starts. I mean, it was out of control, but he's done it the last 4 records. But at the time, he was writing probably more than that. I was down there with eventually it was called Radiocalypse, but I went down to New Orleans when he was working with Dave Fortman and working on all of the songs that were going to go into that before the record label dropped him. And Carnivore was actually on that, but named something different. So he was plucking the best things that he had written at that time. Who wouldn't? My Demons was birthed out of that creation cycle for him. And he got the rights that was the one thing I think that he won when he got dropped by Epic Records he's like, look, I need to own these masters. I need to do something with this project. You've spent money on me to record all this, and now I can't do anything with it. And that's the one thing I guess I'll say more about Dustin is just like, I don't have that, but I feel like he's one guy that has got just kicked in the nuts so many freaking times that it doesn't matter and it doesn't hurt. Will just go again and just go do it again. And talk about losing a record deal, but like he just said, all right, well, I'm going to do it again, another way. And I just refused to fail. So I don't think there was much overlap in terms of creation of the lore and things, because he had to write and build all of that in his own mind. But certainly musically there had to be, he didn't, Transmissions wasn't fully completed by any means, but there was definitely a bulk of it that was ushering on the new project.
Yeah. So was it the original idea, or was the start of Starset intended as like an album first, or was the lore already kind of drafted? Like what was kind of the initial pitch? You referred to the whiteboard that you found. So what did that entail?
That was before the music. I think that was 2012. And I don't want to speak for him because I could totally butcher this, but like, I just know from my outsider, like him telling me as a really good friend, he would bounce all these ideas off of me on late night phone calls. And we would because I was working. And so he would call me later. And I just remember talking about how he envisioned this to be, and whether that was it never felt like marketing. It certainly never felt like anything but a wild idea. I just like, there was so much depth to to the background of this whole thing. It's just, you know, when you're talking to a crackhead that they're a crackhead. You know, you just know, you're like, okay, this guy's like off his hinges, something's totally wrong. Like, never did I get a feeling like you could put them side by side and him yelling about this story and then a crackhead. Like, you could. Like, you really could. And most of my friends would be like, dude, what the hell is wrong with this guy? But I was like, what? No, there's something crazy special about this. And a couple other people who I won't mention, but who were involved early on, understood that. And some of his really good friends understood that, investors and people that cared enough to know that it was like, oh, wow, this guy's got like, he's just bursting at the seams with ideas and someone needs to just like allow it to happen.